If you have some hot glue, you can make these Christmas home decor pieces in no time at all. To start my first project, I've got an old file folder here that I no longer need, and I want to fold it into a cone shape. To cover the cone and help release the hot glue later, I want to wrap it in a piece of parchment paper. To make the Christmas tree, I want to start by running a thick line of the hot glue all the way around the bottom of the cone. I'm just going to start making little swirls all over the cone and keep going up until I reach the top. As I fill up the cone and move towards the point of it, I want to make sure that there are no empty spaces and that everything is filled and touching. Now that I'm at the very tip of the cone, I'm just going to add a dab of hot glue onto the very top to seal it off. While the glue on my tree is drying, I'm going to start working on this plain glass candle holder that I have. I want to make a decorative edge around the candle holder to give it a little more character. Now I'm just going to let this dry and get out my glitter. Before I can glitter up my tree though, I need to remove the parchment paper and the file folder from the inside. I can pop it out and then I can do the same with the parchment. To give the tree a little sparkle, I'm going to paint on some white glue with a small brush and then just sprinkle on some silver glass glitter. Finally, I want to add the same glitter to the candle holder. I want to keep the glue only on the bits of dried glue, so I'm just going to gently brush it on top of that and then roll the candle holder in the glitter. I can't believe how easy this Christmas tree and candle holder were to make, and I only needed my hot glue gun. I hope this has inspired you to make something with your hot glue as well.
Print out some snowflake shapes that you like and cut them each out. Place your snowflake under a piece of wax paper. Use glittery fabric paint and squeeze it out onto the contact paper, tracing the snowflake underneath. Let it dry for 24 hours. Carefully peel it off the wax and you'll have a window clink. Coat your wax paper with some non-stick cooking spray. This will make sure the glue won't stick to the paper. This will prevent your hot glue from sticking to the wax paper. Squeeze your hot glue onto the wax paper, tracing the design of the snowflake, and let it cool completely. Carefully peel your snowflake off the wax paper and then wash it to get the cooking spray off. Paint sparkle Mod Podge onto your snowflake. Sprinkle with glitter, or I used fake snow on mine, and let it dry completely. You'll want to coat the wax paper with a little dish soap. This is an alternative to the cooking spray. I bought glitter glue sticks from the Dollar Tree. I squeezed it out onto the contact paper, tracing the snowflake design. Let it cool completely, peel off, and wash off the dish soap. Tie some fishing line onto your snowflakes and they're ready to be hung. I hope this inspires you to make some snowflakes of your own.
Start off by shaping the hot glue sticks with a box cutter or small knife. Make sure to have a mat down and cut away from yourself to angle the hot glue sticks to a point. To remove the shape parts after you've cut them to a point, simply move the glue stick back and forth and press down with your cutting tool. This is going to cut through the glue stick. You can use glue sticks of various sizes for this craft. And you're also going to need about 6 of these glue sticks of various sizes, or in my case, just 6 of the same size. Try to keep these cut pieces under an inch if you're making a small cluster, but you can also make them larger if you're going to be making a larger cluster. Save all of the hot glue scraps as you go because we are going to use them later in this craft. After you have all of your crystals shaped and cut, lightly color them with a permanent marker. Use a stiff paintbrush before they dry to create streaks and also disperse the color. Do this with all pieces. You can use a darker permanent marker on the edges to create more of a realistic look and give it some shadow. Line your small bowl with parchment paper. Put a dot of hot glue in the bottom to keep the paper in place. Put down a small amount of cornstarch if you have any. Fill your bowl with hot glue to create a small dome. As you go, add in hot glue scraps. They will melt in. Wait for the hot glue to cool down and remove the parchment paper. If any of the parchment paper sticks, wet a paper towel to remove it easily. Or you can just leave it and paint it over. It's not going to show because it'll be on the bottom. Use your warmed hot glue tip to create texture on one side by tapping the hot glue. Paint both sides with black acrylic paint. Let the paint dry and glue the crystals on. There is no specific way to glue them on, but look up references on how crystal clusters grow and look. Here's the finished crystal cluster. Now, on to the next craft. You will need silicone molds for this craft. Make sure your molds are clean and free of any dust or hair. Fill the molds with hot glue. It is best to paint the hot glue in there. Start off in the middle and slowly branch out to prevent bubbles or spaces. Let the molds cool off. Remove any glue webs and take out your molded pieces. To even out the sides, use your hot glue gun tip to smooth and remelt the glue. Put a base coat of paint onto the shapes. I am using pink since they are hearts. After the base coat is dry, you can write on them, or you can just leave them how they are. Here's the finished hot glue heart. Now, on to the last craft. Lay a sheet of parchment paper down. Create ovals with your hot glue gun. 3 or so should be good. Create dots with the hot glue gun. I made about 20 since they are all shaped a bit differently and I can pick and choose from them. Fill a glass of cold water and squeeze hot glue into it like such. Remove the hot glue cluster from the water. Separate some of the pieces and cut off extra parts of hot glue that you are not going to use. Remove the hot glue ovals after they are fully cooled from the parchment paper. Glue on the line pieces to the oval pieces. Glue 2 to 3 on each oval. Remove the circular pieces from the parchment paper. Top the line pieces with a circular piece. After all the circular pieces are glued down, cut off any extra hot glue that is hanging off. Paint the base green first. Let the base dry and then paint the tops red. As the tops dry, paint the stems white. When the red paint is dry, put dots on the top. You can now take all 3 of these hot glue crafts and decorate with them. I am putting them on my fairy house to add more decorations.
I printed a few images of spring flowers, leaves, and a butterfly. I'm placing those on the table and then adding a layer of parchment paper over the top. Now this is the fun part. I'm just tracing the shapes with hot glue. I want to make sure to create even lines and connect everything. Once these are dry, I can peel them off the parchment paper. The flat part that was on the bottom is what I'll use as the stamp. I want to create a back for the stamps so there's less mess. I'm just going to use a piece of craft foam and attach it to the stamp with hot glue. Then I'm going to trim down the sides so it's easier to hold. Now it's time to get creative. I've laid out the fabric and protected the surface underneath. I'm using craft paint mixed with a little bit of a fabric paint agent. This means it'll hold up in the wash. You can also just use straight fabric paint. I'm going to use these just like regular stamps, dip them in the paint and then transfer to the fabric. You could also brush the paint onto the stamp with a paintbrush. I've created a pattern of flowers, leaves, and butterflies. Once this is completely dry, I can use it to set a spring table. This was a fun and easy way to create my own stamp. I hope this inspired you to create some for yourself. Thanks for watching Home Talk. See you next time.